we move on now to the Lifetime Achievement Award, and I'm humbled and delighted to announce that the 2019 Lifetime Achievement winner is John Thompson. We're saddened that John cannot be with us tonight, and on his behalf we welcome the staff contingent from JTP, and particularly David Harrison, better known as Harry Harrison, or his email moniker has it, Harry the Pencil, who worked with John over many decades and has provided the marvellous drawings and sketches that illustrate the visions that come out of so many community planning events and weekends that JTP do. So Harry will now say a few words to accept the Lifetime Achievement Award on behalf of John Thompson. So please welcome Harry to the stage.
Good evening, everybody. It is an honour to accept this award on behalf of John Thompson, who many of you will know is unwell and unable to collect this prestigious award in person. I was privileged to work with John for almost 40 years, firstly at Hunt Thompson Associates from 1978 to 1994, then at John Thompson & Partners from 1994 until 2017. I was therefore able to witness and participate in John's remarkable career from a ringside seat. A career defined in the 1980s by his developing participatory processes became known as community architecture at Leaview House in Hackney, giving local people a say in the design of their homes and their estates. Following a visit to Leaview House by the Prince of Wales, John was invited to become involved at early stages of the Prince's Urban Villages Forum, an initiative to persuade volume house builders to adopt a more sustainable and better design approach to their housing developments. Community architecture broadened into community planning as John developed processes and techniques for involving local people in planning decisions, such as community planning weekends, a practice now widely used in this country and internationally. But it wasn't all serious stuff in the late 80s. HTA, Hunt Thompson Associates, as they were then, were the unlikely beneficiaries of the RIBA's Client Advisory Service, who, when rung from a public phone box in Trafalgar Square by the owner of Samuel Smith Brewery, the very eccentric Mr. Humphrey Smith, looking for an architect experienced in designing public houses, the RIBA misheard the request as being for public housing. The result was an appointment to refurbish the Chandos pub in St Martin's Lane, for which we won a Civic Trust Award, and then a number of other pubs for Samuel Smith, two of them winning the campaign for Real Ale's Pub of the Year Awards. Post-1994 at JTP, with residential developers as clients, John persuaded many to adopt good urban design principles and also to include mixed uses, and in some cases tenure-blind accommodation, therefore adding vitality, diversity and much-needed life to their developments, and winning JTP many CABE Building for Life awards. In 2006, John was invited by George Ferguson, then president of the RIBA, to put place at the centre of architecture. John, with his typical gusto, energy, charisma and vision, set up the Academy of Urbanism with its tagline, Space, Place, Life. John is now Honorary President of the Academy. John was unusual in that although trained as an architect, he had a passion for creating good places and saw placemaking as the core discipline in his work and visionary initiatives. But what I think is the most remarkable thing about John was his ability to convincingly communicate his ideals, not only to the hundreds of collaborators, including me and some others present in this room this evening, but also literally to the thousands of so-called ordinary people who attended John Thompson planning weekends all around the British Isles and overseas. Perhaps more lastingly, his legacy is the fact that a statement of community involvement is a statutory requirement on planning applications. Would that have happened without John's pioneering work? I doubt it. John's remarkable career has been immortalised in this book, which has been produced by John Thompson and Partners. Now, when I went through the draft of my speech to John on Monday, he growled at me, "Harry boy," which is what he always calls me. "There aren't enough anecdotes." I said this perhaps wasn't the appropriate forum, and besides, the best anecdote is unrepeatable, so the JTP table can relax. However, I'll add one. People sometimes ask me what sort of architect was John Thompson. Well, in the early days at Hunt Thompson Associates, they primarily did refurbishment conversions, mainly for London Borough of Camden. And then as we moved into the 1980s, they started to do new build projects, primarily for housing associations. And John handed over his first new build project on the 15th of October 1987. Now, some of you might remember what that date's famous for. The name Michael Fish comes to mind, claimed that there would not be a hurricane that evening, and of course there was. And John, like many of the rest of us around at that time, listened as infrastructure was crashing to the ground, dustbins flying down streets, trees toppling over, scaffolding falling down, chimney pots coming off chimneys, and tiles coming off roofs. So John, first thing in the morning, thought, I'd better phone the client and see whether the building's okay. So John phoned the client, who said, John said, "Is the building okay?" And the building said, "Well, John, there's good news and there's bad news." And John said, "Well, tell me the good news." He said, "Well, the good news is the building's fine." John said, "Excellent. What's the bad news?" "The bad news is all the architecture's blown away." Finally, thank you on John's behalf for this Lifetime Achievement Award, which I will hand to Nova when it comes, his wife, who's here tonight, to give to John later. Thank you very much. That's not bad.
Can I hold the book for you? While you hold the award? Yeah.
This is Nova, John's wife. This is your award.
Okay, everybody, we're almost there. Congratulations to JTP and to John Thompson. So, it only remains for me to thank the people who've made the awards happen again this year and to be such a success. It is the end of the evening, so thank you for coming, everybody, and may the urban design force be with you. Thank you.